So today's video is going to be what would happen if Rachell was dance captain in season 7 instead of Summer. How it would start is season 7 episode 1 would be the same. Michelle's leaving party, Rachell in the face of absolute dance, all of that would be the same. Season 7 episode 2 would be the same, Lily's auditions. Season 7 episode 3 would be the alternate auditions. And they'd start with the solos, and then Nick and Emily would decide who's going through to the next round, which would be choreography. And then Emily and Nick would explain the next round and tell everyone what group they're in, and the dance captains would get assigned their groups. And the dance captains would teach the choreography. Instead of Emily and Nick not watching the dance captains, I would have them walking around watching them, asking them how they're getting on, what issues have they overcome, what issues have cropped up. Then there would be the group performances. Then Nick and Emily would ask them who they think should be the alternate, and they would say who they think. Rachell, instead of just saying her whole group, she'd say her whole group and give reasons why her whole group deserves it. Nick and Emily would say who the alternate is. Emily would say who the dance captain is, and the dance captain is Rachell. Summer would be mad because she thought she deserved dance captain more than Rachell, and she wanted to be dance captain. Kenzie wouldn't be bothered. She'd want the position, but she'd be happy for Rachell because Rachell really wants to be dance captain. Season 7 episode 4, Rachell would be dancing a solo celebrating becoming dance captain. Summer would talk to Kenzie saying, "Do you think Rachell deserves to be dance captain?" Kenzie would say, "Do you really think you can handle the responsibility of being dance captain? It involves giving corrections, choreographing dances. And is any of that your strong suit?" Summer would say, "I think I'm the best choice for dance captain." Kenzie would ask, "Why are you the best choice for dance captain?" I gave Presley a correction. She is an arrogant, full of herself dancer. Kenzie would tell her that that's just one correction to an alternate rather than to an A-troop dancer. Cleo would say congrats Rachell for being dance captain. Amy and Piper would be catching up with each other. Piper's phone would be going off, and then Piper, Finn and Amy would all hang out. And that would be the same. Rachell would be rehearsing the small group routine, giving corrections. Henry would be applying the corrections, and Nick would say the routine is looking good. The dance battle would never happen, because Rachell wouldn't let that happen. Someone would go to find Piper, Finn and Amy and say, "Can you learn the choreo for a routine so I can show this routine to Nick and Emily in order to de-throw Rachell?" And Emily and Nick would see the routine and would say, "Summer, we're not changing our minds. We've made our final decision and it's final." Rachell would... Season 7 episode 5, Rachell would be practicing the routine, and then the lights would suddenly go out. Ozzy and Kingston would be wondering what's going on. Nick would walk in with his broken umbrella and would say, "We can't rehearse in the dark." Kenzie would say, "I need to go do my homework." Kingston and Ozzy would say, "We need to get to the bottom of this power outage." Ozzy says we should call the power people, but I have no charge in my phone. Lily would come over and say, "I have my phone in my locker so we can use mine." Rachell doesn't say a lot because they've been rehearsing a lot, the dance is looking good and there's not a lot she can do. Henry would say, "I'm going to find Summer." Ozzy and Kingston and Lily would find out that someone's turned off the power because no buildings have been affected by the storm. Lily said to Kingston and Ozzy, "I know what to check so we can find out what's happened to the power and how the power was got rid of." When they got to the basement, they'd find out that someone had turned out the power. Ozzy, Lily and Kingston would try and figure out who it was. Ozzy reckons it was probably Kenzie because she has homework to do. Kingston would agree. They'd go ask Kenzie if she has anything to do with the power. And Kenzie would say, "No, I was rehearsing, I went to do my homework, and that's all I have to say." Lily says, "Who do you think it could be?" Can't be Rachell because she was rehearsing. Heathcliff was in the room watching and taking notes. Kenzie says who's in the studio is jealous of Rachell being dance captain. They'd say Summer, so they'd go see Summer and they'd say, Summer, you're busted. We know you turned up the power and we know you're jealous of Rachell. Summer brings out the keys and says, I did it because I turned out the power to Rachell's rehearsal. So you can't rehearse because I'm jealous of Rachell being dance captain. And if we lose, that proves she's not the best choice for dance captain. So he said, just because you're jealous doesn't make it okay. So they'd put the power back in. Season 7, episode 6. Nick would say it's time to pick the male soloist, so all the boys would audition, because I didn't like it that all the boys didn't audition. I think all of them should have a chance. Nick would say Rachell's going to make the decision, everyone will be happy because she's objective rather than subjective. And he would say, Summer, we need to talk. Did you turn out the power to the building? And also, why are you jealous of Rachell? Because this is so uncharacteristic of you. Some would say, I thought I deserved to be dance captain over Rachell, because Rachell cares about winning, not about the dancers. I care about the dancers more than I care about winning. And Henry would say, we need to care about winning in order to win. And we need good choreo. Do you think you could deliver the good choreo? We need to win nationals. Then we'd have the male soloist auditions, and Rachell would say, I think we need to have a think on it because it is a tough choice, and everyone was really good. Cleo would approach Rachell and say, have you decided who the male soloist? And Rachell would say, I'm going over the talent, making my decisions. Rachell would say, I've decided on Kingston as the soloist. Henry would be happy because Rachell makes objective decisions. Some would ask Henry, who did Rachell pick? And Henry would say, Kingston. Some would say, your performance was better than Kingston. Henry would say, how do you know you weren't in the room watching? Summer would go up to Rachell and say, why did you not pick Henry? Rachell would say, why is it your business who I chose as male soloist, Summer? Summer would say, I care about the team more than you do. You just want to win and get the opportunities. Rachell would tell Summer, you're just jealous. Some would say, I'm not jealous, I care about the team. Winning doesn't matter as much as caring about the team. And I certainly care about the team way more than you do. And I would say, can't you just go back to being a good team player? And deep down, I'm sure you're not bothered about who the male soloist is, you just want the best one representing the team. Summer would then go into Nick's office and say, I would like to see a rematch of the male soloist because Rachell, I don't agree with her decision to make Kingston the male soloist over Henry. Nick calls Rachell into the office and says, you made Kingston the male soloist, do you think Kingston's good enough to be a soloist yet? Rachell would say, Summer, I have no time to deal with your jealousy, your drama, and you just want to be dance captain, and that's all. So all you care about is dance captain. I have a dance convention to go to. Henry then goes into the locker and said, I see you never took my advice. And what's the reason for not taking my advice? Summer would say, I'm sure your performance was much better than Kingston's. You have the performance quality that Kingston doesn't have. So that's why I made that decision. Henry would say, we need Summer back. We need a good team player back. Next is season 7, episode 7. The TV crew would come into the studio and would call the dancers boring. The lady realises that Summer is jealous and says, Summer, you will never be the best version of yourself if you're jealous. And the lady would give everyone pointers. Piper, have fun, but still keep good technique. Lily, you can be a really good dancer, but you can also have fun. Henry, great moves. So then it would be the costume scene. Season 7, episode 8 would be the same. Season 7, episode 9. Rachell would be rehearsing with everyone. Summer would be working on her dance with Cleo. Cleo would go into the locker room and say, Rachell, you're missing rehearsal. Rachell would say, wait, what? How am I missing rehearsal? It doesn't start for another half an hour. Rachell would walk into Studio A and see Summer rehearsing with everyone. Would say, Summer, what are you up to? You're just jealous. Say, let's take a vote to see what dance should go to Dance Mania. Rachell would say, we're not doing a vote. My dance is going to Dance Mania, so get over it and stop being so jealous. Summer would then dance solo at the end. Season 7, Episode 10. Everyone would be waiting to go to Dance Mania. Heath would walk in and say, Summer's not coming to Dance Mania. They would get to Dance Mania and everything would be the same. Summer would be a soloist. When they get back to the studio, they'd be waiting to find out. And Ozzy would say, I have the wrong phone. They'd dance battle. And they'd find out they made it into Dance Mania. Season 7, Episode 11. Summer would walk in to tell the team she didn't make it. Rachell would say, you're replaced with Heath. They'd order pizza. Nick and Emily would say, congrats. Nick would say, we get to work tomorrow, but today we party. Amy and Piper would have their talk about Finn. Heath and Cleo would talk about Dance Mania. Piper avoids Finn. Finn realises Piper's acting weird. Emily and Nick would be in the office and Nick would ask Emily, what are you looking at? Emily tells Nick, if we do Dance Mania, A Troop will be considered as professional dancers. And if you're considered professional dancers, you can never compete at an absolute dance competition ever again. Then Nick and Emily would tell the team. Everyone would be thinking about the decision. Rachell would say, let's take a vote for whatever competition people want to do, and whatever gets the most votes will be the competition we do. Everyone would be thinking, then everyone would vote. Dance Mania would get more votes than Nationals. Cleo would not be happy because she's now off the team. Cleo would do a solo. Jude would say, do you want to join B Troop? We might not be A Troop, but we can still find a way to get to Nationals. A Troop are going to Dance Mania, but B Troop can go to Nationals. Season 7, Episode 12. A Troop would do their dance to main attraction. And Summer would then do a solo to main attraction after that. Then Nick and Emily would say, now is time to start prepping for Dance Mania. And the camera crew would walk in. They would explain what they're going to do and how they're going to film around the studio in prep for a video that's going to be their video for Dance Mania. They would talk about not cracking. Rachell would have a talking head say, crack? I never crack. Ozzy would then walk around the next step and Heath would walk in. Cameras would film what they're doing. Then they would be back in Studio A, divided into groups and do the dance challenge. One group would have the concept love, the other group would have the concept of betrayal. Then it would cut to Summer rehearsing. B Troop would say, Summer, please may you leave because B Troop needs to rehearse. Summer would get upset because she feels like she's off A Troop and now she's being kicked out of the studio. Then it would be the groups talking about concepts. Henry would share an idea with his group. B Troop would be rehearsing. Cleo would say, that's a great rehearsal. Jude would say, is a great rehearsal kicking Summer out the studio? Cleo would say, we had to kick her out because we need to rehearse. Jude would say, how about we ask her to join B Troop? Then Rachell would share ideas with her group. The groups would perform, starting with Henry's group. They'd perform first and then Rachel's group would perform next. Cleo would go to the next steep and talk to Summer and say, B Troop has plans to go to Nationals. Say, are you in on the plans? Are you going to join? Next, it would be Season 7, Episode 13. Kingston Lily would not be a thing. Kenzie and Lily would be talking about their ideas for Dance Mania. Then it would cut to Amy, who was sat looking gloomy. Henry would walk in and ask, what is wrong? And Amy would say, my family's annual camping trip is on the same day as Dance Mania, and I'm looking forward to it every year. Henry would say, I have a surprise for you later. Ozzy and Izzy would be working on their dance for the talent show. And they'd be working together, they wouldn't be falling out over the choreo. Then Finn would walk in down the hall and see Henry setting up, and Finn would ask, Henry, what are you doing? Henry would say, I'm surprising Amy. Finn would realise that maybe I do need to get rid of my feelings for Piper. Finn would go and find Piper and talk to her. Piper would say, we can't be together because of Amy, you're dating Amy. Cheating on her would break her heart and ruin your relationship and my friendship. I saw Riley cheat on James and that's not the right thing to do. Henry would say, Amy, I have a surprise for you, and it would be a camping trip in Studio A. Amy would ask Henry, can I talk to you about something? Amy would say, I'm starting to lose feelings for Finn, what shall I do? Henry would say, you need to talk to Finn, have the difficult conversation yourselves. Next would be season 7, episode 14. Be B-Troop doing their dance. Summer would not be dancing with everyone in their solos. So I didn't like how Summer was the focus of the dance. Cleo and Summer would be talking about choreo for the 10-person dance. Rachell would walk in and she'd say, what's B-Troop doing in Studio A? Cleo would say, isn't it your day off? Rachell would have a talking head say, I never take days off. So he would say to Rachell, if you let us have Studio A to rehearse, and you go to Studio 1 to rehearse, I will teach you Spanish. Izzy would then start speaking Spanish to Rachell. Rachell would say, how am I meant to learn like this? Izzy would say, immersing yourself in the language is the best way to learn. I'm going to tell B-Troop that the head of Absolute Dance is coming to see this dance. Someone would go and ask Rachell advice about Jude not picking up the choreo. Rachell would say, Summer, you need to make the tough decisions. You need to pull Jude from the dance. Cleo wonders where Jude has gone. It's almost time to show the representative their dance. Someone would say, can I get everyone's attention? Jude is not getting the choreo. Don't want to pull her from the dance, but I have no other choice. Cleo would say, is there any way we can work around her for this dance? Cleo would say, I have an idea of what we can do to work around Jude for this dance. We should give her a solo bit that fits in with the choreo. That way no one will ever know that she didn't pick up the choreo in time. The representative would walk in and Rachell would then come in and say, do you want to talk about the Barcelona convention? Emily then comes over to the representative and says, Rachell isn't in this dance. Rachell's decided to compete at Dance Mania instead. Tiff would say, is that the reality TV show? And let's see this dance. B-Troop would do their dance. The representative would say, this is a good dance. You're coming to nationals. Rachell would then say, do you still want to talk about the Barcelona convention? And then the representative would say, you're going to Dance Mania, a reality TV show. You're now considered professional dancers, so unfortunately you can no longer be the face of Absolute Dance. Next is season 7, episode 15. Nick is in the office, tearing up the posters, and then Rachell walks in. Nick would say, I have something to cheer you up here. Rachell would then go, oh thanks Nick, Dance Mania pencils. Nick would tell Rachell, you can't buy them in the shop. Dance Mania sent them, so I'm stocking up on my collection. So I'd walk in and Nick would say, Rachell, do you mind waiting outside while I talk to Summer? Rachell would go outside and Nick would say, you're the face of Absolute Dance now. Summer would be excited and would have a talking head saying, I need to tell Kenzie. I need to tell Rachell. I need to tell everybody. I need to tell B-Troop. Then Nick would go back to ripping the posters. Then cut to the boys in Studio 1. Henry would say, I'm so excited to go to the amusement park. Shame Finn isn't coming with us. And Kingston would say, Finn hates roller coasters. Well, let's find someone else to come with us. We can hold bro interviews to pick the best bro to come to the amusement park with us. there'd be the bro interviews with a prize of becoming a bro. First, the bros would interview Pete, then Nick would come in and say, Pete, beach at rehearsals in Studio A. Nick would ask, what is going on? Is this the bro interviews? Henry would reply and say, yes, this is the bro interview. Nick would have a talking head saying, why didn't I get invited to the bro interviews? Nick would say, why didn't you invite me? Henry would the bros, what do you think, should we interview Nick? And Nick would say, I'm the best bro ever. The bros would give Nick an interview. So Nick would then be interviewed. Then it would cut to Studio A with Rachell looking rather miserable, drinking a milkshake. Nick would come into the studio and say, you seem to be taking this not so well. Is everything okay? Rachell would then lie on the floor and say, I heard about Summer being the face of Absolute Dance. She's literally going around telling everybody. Pete and Ethan would say, what are we going to do because there's no floor space? Someone would walk in and say, look Nick, these posters just came in the mail. Someone would then say, everyone, I have an announcement. I am the face of Absolute Dance. Nick would tell Ethan and Pete, do you mind going helping Summer before we lose more studio space? And before she brags it to everyone? Nick then talks to Rachell and say, how are you really feeling about not being the face of Absolute Dance? Go, I really miss the fan mail, the travelling, the conventions, the feeling of accomplishment. Nick would tell Rachell that if you ever need anything, I'm here. Then the boys would walk in and ask Nick what's going on, and Nick would say we need to come up with an idea to cheer Rachell up. And would say maybe she could be the absolute face of Thunder Bros. Then the Thunder Bros would do their dance. Next is Season 7, Episode 16. Piper and Amy would be hanging out because Finn didn't cheat on Piper, because Finn wouldn't cheat on Amy because cheating is wrong and words. This happens every video. Amy would ask Piper, what shall I do because me and Finn don't gel like we used to about it, and Piper would say maybe you need to talk to Finn and see what he's feeling. Amy would find Finn in the locker room and Amy would say, Finn, we need to talk. Finn would ask Amy, what do we need to talk about? Amy would say, do you think our relationship is the same as it used to be? Finn would say, our relationship has changed. But what are you saying? What are you talking about? Do you think the feelings are still the same? What are you talking about? Are you thinking we should break up? And Amy would say, I think we should break up because we're not the best fit anymore. Henry would be working on some choreo because he's choreographing for Dance Mania. Amy would then walk in and say, do you want some help? Heathcliff would come into the locker room and say, I need help getting over my fear of flying. Kingston would say, we need all Thunder Bros to help us, so the Thunder Bros would help Heathcliff get over his fear of flying. That includes Rachell. Amy would then talk to Henry and say, me and Finn broke up, and that's because we weren't the best fit for each other and now we should get back to our dancing. To ask Henry, what's the story of your dance? Henry would say, the story of my dance is about a moment that is never finished, and things just keep getting in the way and not allowing it to progress further than a moment. Nick would then come out of his office and say, Henry, you wanted to show me that dance? Henry and Amy would show Nick their dance. Piper would be sitting in the next deep and Amy would go up to Piper. Piper would ask Amy, is everything okay? And Amy would say, you and Finn are meant to be together. Me and Finn have broken up because we were not the best fit, but you and Finn are the better fit. And you're meant to be for each other. So Piper and Finn would get together. Heathcliff would get over his fear of flying. Henry and Amy would be together. Next is Season 7, Episode 18. Henry and Amy would be working on the choreo for their Dance Mania routine. Henry and Amy would be heading off on their first date. Then Emily would come out to the office and tell them they need to pick the song off this approved list. Henry would then go round and ask people if they're interested in guarding a table which is reserved at the next steep. Henry would ask Izzy if she didn't mind guarding the table. I have $20. Izzy would be interested and make sure no one nicks the table. Henry and Amy would be sitting choosing songs. Piper and Finn would walk in and wonder what's going on. Henry would say, we're choosing a song for Dance Mania, so do you mind giving us some alone time, giving us some space, and then we'll let the team know. Michelle and Heath would then walk in and say, what song are you choosing? Henry would say, can we have some alone time please to figure this out? Then it cut to Emily in her office and Jude would walk in and say, this is for you. Then would find out that she has a secret admirer. Then it would cut to Izzy in the next steep. But people can't read the signs. Izzy would have in a talking head saying, can people not read the sign these days? Henry and Amy would be left alone choosing between two songs, so they choreograph a dance to their songs. And whatever was the better dance was the song they picked for Dance Mania. Then back in the next steep, Izzy would be guarding the table. But Izzy would be wanting to get her muffin, but everyone just keeps nicking the table. Jude would then walk in and Izzy would say, Jude, do you mind guarding while I get my muffin? Then Izzy and Jude sit guarding the table together. Amy and Henry are working on their dances. Henry and Amy would then do their dances. They would decide on the song. Jude and Cleo are guarding the table, and Cleo walks in and Cleo asks if she can join. Then it cuts back to Emily in the office and she gets lunch from her secret admirer. Emily would be thinking about who could possibly be my secret admirer, and then she realised it's potentially Nick who's my secret admirer. Then Nick would walk in and Emily would say, Nick, I need to talk to you about something. Emily would say, Nick, I know you have feelings for me, it's pretty obvious. People have feelings for me but prefer to show them at a distance. Nick would then say, Emily, I don't know what you're talking about, I have no clue. Nick would have a talking head saying, I can see why people are attracted to me, I get that a lot, it's probably my accent. Emily is still wondering who her secret admirer is. She'd have a talking head saying, who on earth is my secret admirer? I still have no idea. Henry and Amy would then tell the team what their Dance Mania song is. Then it cuts back to the next steep where Jude, Cleo and Izzy are all hanging out together, talking and drinking tea. Then Henry and Amy would go on their first date. Then Emily finds out who her secret admirer is, and it's Michelle. So we're back in. I just took a quick short break. What's on? And we're now on season 7, episode 18. Nick talks to the team about the resurrection round. Nick pairs a troupe into duets to decide who will represent the team in the resurrection round. The pairs are Piper and Amy, Kingston and Rachell, and Heathcliff and Kenzie. Kingston and Rachell get Foxtrot. Kingston would say, Rachell, we got the Foxtrot. Everyone who gets Foxtrot gets eliminated. Says, don't worry about it, let's work on the Foxtrot so we can pick it up and not get eliminated if we get it. It then tells B Troop, you need to do a small group for nationals, here's the rulebook with the guidelines. Emily and Michelle would then have a catch up. Emily would be updating on Michelle on what's going on at the studio. Michelle and Emily would talk about Michelle's contract. Kenzie and Heathcliff get assigned the tango. Kenzie says, have you ever done a tango before, Heath? I've never done a tango before. Heathcliff would say, let's watch some videos, get some inspiration. Cliff and Kenzie would then decide after watching the videos we probably should go practice. Beetroot would be working on their dance. Then it would cut back to Michelle and Emily. Emily would be doing some negotiating. Beetroot would show Nick their dance. Nick would like their dance and it would meet all the guidelines. Then Michelle would run over her idea with Emily about having a dance tour of their own. Emily and Piper would then show their swing dance. Heathcliff and Kenzie would show Nick their tango. Nick realises how familiar this tango is, so Heathcliff and Kenzie don't get the resurrection round. Then Rachell and Kingston do their dance. Nick is proud of this dance. Rachell and Kingston get the resurrection dance. Then it cuts to the next beat. Michelle and Emily talk. Emily gets asked by Michelle about creating a tour. Next is season 7, episode 19. Nick would walk into Studio A with costumes. Rachell would be excited to see the costumes. Then it would cut to Emily in the office thinking about Michelle's offer. And she would having a talking head saying, "It's my head versus my heart. My head's saying one thing, my heart's saying the other, and I can't stop thinking about Michelle's offer." Then it would cut back to Nick and Rachell looking at the costumes, realising the costumes were not what they ordered. Rachell would then discover there's something for Summer. Summer would be practicing for nationals. Nick would walk in and say, "I have something from Dance Mania for you." Summer would then find out they want her to audition. Some would say, "I'm going to that audition. It's a too big an opportunity to lose." Nick would say, "That's the spirit." Then it cut to Winnie in Studio A, and she would have a talking head saying, "I'm so excited. Nick finally let me choreograph." Nick would walk in and say, Winnie, what is with the ballet slipper? And she'd say, "I tripped over a garden gnome and now my foot is too swollen to fit in my tap shoes." So she came up with a way to show Nick. Nick would say, "I'm sorry, I need to see a dance with real people." Nick would have a talking head saying, "I'm literally not fluent in the language of dance." Beetroot would be rehearsing, and Beetroot would be thinking about Summer, and they'd be thanking her for helping them with nationals. Cleo would walk into Nick's office and say, "Me and Summer have been talking about travel arrangements for nationals." Nick would say, "Summer's definitely made the right choice choosing Dance Mania. You'll have to find someone to replace her. She had an offer to audition for Dance Mania again and she took it." Winnie would be teaching Marcus and Grace tap. Summer would then go and look at the Dance Mania costume. Cleo would walk in and say, "Summer, is this true? You're re-auditioning for Dance Mania?" Summer would say, "It's true. It's a huge opportunity. I would be stupid not to take it." Grace and Marcus would show Nick their routine. Beetroot would be rehearsing. Cleo would tell them this is Summer's last rehearsal because she's auditioning again for Dance Mania. She would then have a solo which is about what she's accomplished and how after Dance Mania she needs to make decisions on her future. Next is season 7, episode 20. Summer would be sitting in the next seat and Cleo would say, "Can I come and give you some support?" Then Beetroot would be reading the room arrangements for Dance Mania. No one would want to share a room with Rachell, and they'd be talking about it, and Rachell would walk in and say, "Oh, it looks like I'm sharing with you, Amy. Not much I can do about that, just gotta suck it up." Amy would say, "Whoever's sharing with Piper, can they switch rooms with me so I can share with Piper?" Would ask, "What have I done that's mean to you to mean you don't want to share with me?" Piper would say, "Amy, you barely talk to Rachell, so how can you possibly hate her that much?" Rachell would say, "I agree with Piper. What have I done to make you not want to share with me?" Amy would go up to Emily and say, "Can I have a single room to myself?" And Emily would say, "No, why can't you share with Rachell?" Say, "Beetroot, your room arrangements are final for Dance Mania. There'll be no changes, no switches, and that's the way it is." Summer would have her audition for Dance Mania. Summer would have a costume as fancy as Rachell's Dance Mania costume. Just looking out the window because I had a noise. The audition, Summer would be asked what's gone on between her and the next step, because they'd be wanting to find out the gossip, because gossip gets views up for the show. Because people are interested in drama. They'd be writing down all the information Summer tells them. Summer's not really sure about why they're asking her so many questions. but she's never done anything like this, so she just answers the questions. Someone realises then how fishy it is, and how she realises this could be bad for her and this could be bad for A Troop. Claire and Jude would be discussing who they think should be a replacement for Summer. Jude would say, how about Presley? She's an amazing dancer. Presley would then audition for B Troop. After Presley's audition, it would cut to Rachell sitting in the next seat. And Cleo would come and sit at the table and would ask Rachell, you seem down, what's going on? To explain that she's never done anything or said anything that should upset Amy, but still she doesn't like how she has to share a room with her as part of the room arrangements for Dance Mania. Claire would say, have you ever spoken to Amy and explained the fact that she has no reason to hate on you? Rachell would say, I made it perfectly clear. Piper and Finn would be talking about Dance Mania. Not so much about the late side, because Kingston and Rachell would be doing the resurrection round. Someone would call Nick and say she's got into Dance Mania as a soloist. Nick would tell Emily would tell the team that Summer's the Dance Mania soloist. A Troop wouldn't care because Summer's not been on the team for a while, and when she was on the team she was jealous of Rachell. Emily would say, the room arrangements are final, Amy and Rachell, Ozzy and Heathcliff, Kenzie and Piper, and Kingston and Henry. Those room arrangements are final. No switching, no changes, nothing's going to change. Amy would say, Kenzie, can you switch so I can share with Piper? Piper would say, we still can't see what the problem is with sharing with Rachell. It's not a big problem, we shouldn't be switching. And you and Rachell never talk, so there's no problems. Actually, it'd be Piper, Lily and Kenzie. Rachell would come and say, what's the problem, Amy? Because you're being really petty over nothing. Piper would say, I agree with Rachell. Then B Troop would be rehearsing. Emily would tell B Troop great work. Troop would be rehearsing and Emily would say great work and well done for accepting who you're sharing with at Dance Mania. Rachell would not be as enthusiastic about the dance, so that the moves would be fine to the point where you couldn't tell. That's all. Rachell would say, can I talk to you, Piper? And Piper would say, after rehearsal we can have a chat. Next week, Piper and Rachell would have a conversation, and Rachell would say thank you for backing me up and making Amy realise that she's just being really petty. Piper would say, if you need anything, I'm here. In the office, Nick and Emily would say, finally, the room arrangements are sorted. Emily would tell Nick, I've had an offer from Rachell to run her tour. Then it would cut between A and B Troop rehearsing. Piper would tell A Troop it's so great how there's no more disagreements over room arrangements and how everyone's getting on with rehearsal. They would come in and say the dances will look good, we just need to keep rehearsing, so it would continue cutting between A and B Troop. Kingston and Lily would rehearse their resurrection dances. Would ask Kingston, are there any styles you need to go over? Season 7, episode 21, A Troop would head to the airport to go to Dance Mania. Piper would be glad that Finn's not late. B Troop would be rehearsing for Nationals with Presley, and she'd be picking up the choreo phone. A Troop would be in their hotels, and Rachell would be reading a magazine. Amy would tell Rachell put the magazine away and join in. Someone would see on social media A Troop having a good time, and she realises she's left A Troop on bad terms. Someone would go and see if A Troop would let her join in. Then it would cut to Jude sitting in the next seat talking about how great rehearsal's going with Cleo. Rachell would say, you only want to join in because you're jealous. And no, you can't join in, you're not a part of A Troop. Then it would be Cleo and Jude asking Presley if she needed any help with any of the choreo. Presley would say, I'm fine, picking up choreo's not too hard with me. Not too hard for me. Jones would then knock on Rachel's door, say, would you like to go to dinner? A Troop would not be happy. A Troop would say, would see Rachell and Jones, and Ozzy would say, Jones, what are you doing here talking to Rachell? The team would say, Rachell, stop talking to Jones and join in with the team. And they would say, why would you always not join in with the team? Why would you just read a magazine? All you want to do is read a magazine. Say she can do what she wants, she can talk to her as she wants. It's just Jones being friendly. Jude and Cleo then say, Pressy, you're doing such a great job with the choreo, everything's coming together so nicely. Jude and Cleo would have their brave duet. Episode 22, Summer would be interviewed because it would be the group division. And in the interview they'd be digging for any more juicy gossip that Summer hasn't already mentioned. Be different to anything that Summer's ever experienced. Summer would give all the juicy gossip and it would make Summer out to be a traitor. Which, first time round auditioning, she was the traitor and A-Troop were the good guys, which was true because Summer was jealous. Summer would be thinking about approaching Nick for a chat and she'd realise it's got to be done, she's got to do what she's got to do. Summer would go up to Nick and say, can I talk to you? Nick would reply back saying, yes, of course, we can have a chat. What do you want to talk about? Summer would ask Nick, do you think I'm a traitor? While you did get jealous of Rachell being dance captain, I can't deny the fact. You did bail on the team on the morning of Dance Mania. First time round, but that's in the past now. Now I don't think you are. So Dance Mania is digging for gossip, so be careful. Gossip's what gets the viewer ratings up. Summer would thank Nick for the advice. The group dances would perform. Summer wouldn't support the next step because she doesn't want them digging for any more gossip, so she just hides in the corner and watches. Season 7, episode 23, A-Troop would be sat in the audience because it's a solo division. Troop would not support Summer because she was jealous of Rachell being dance captain, bailed on the team on the morning of Dance Mania. And Summer's not been on the team for a while, so they just don't really care anymore. And they've heard about the drama, so they're not sure what else to do, other than to not support Summer to be safe than sorry. Summer is nervous because she wasn't sure if A-Troop had found out about the drama or whether something's gone wrong or whether someone said something or what's going on. Alice would go up to Summer and say, you look nervous, to the point where you look like you might make a mistake. Some would say that's because it's true. Aldice would say you're better off with A-Troop, you'd be stress-free, no drama. Summer would start to question her decision whether she's made the right choice to be a soloist on Dance Mania. The video would make Summer look bad, A-Troop look good. A-Troop would not be short to think because they know about the drama but they don't know the full story. Summer's so nervous she messes up her solo. Summer scores the worst score she's ever had and worse than Aldice. Summer would be in the resurrection round against the next step. Summer would be nervous because of not having A-Troop support and the fact that they're not really supporting her and the fact that she's nervous. Summer would mess up again and be out of Dance Mania. So 24, which is the last episode, Nick and Emily would be having a chat and they would say, kind of a shame Summer didn't do well in Dance Mania. Nick would say it's because A-Troop didn't really show their support, but she's not been on the team for a while. And also, she was jealous of Rachell. She bailed them on the morning of Dance Mania and she's not been on the team for a while. So he'd walk in to check out the competition. Summer wouldn't come to watch because she knows A-Troop don't like her. Nick and Emily would be watching A-Troop rehearse. Then the show would start. J. Cruz would perform. The next step would perform. Emily would be on the corner waiting for the results. J. Cruz would win. Emily would walk out. B-Troop would be rehearsing to stand up, and then Nick Razzie has a big decision to make. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye. Sorry about my wind. I do apologise.